Hey, it's Al from Art, and today I'm going to be painting with you Sunflower and Ladybug. It's not a challenging picture, this one. It's a bit of fun. It's basically based on the black outlining that finishes it off. Very simple, 4 colours. I've got dark green, light green, purple, black and white. So we're going to get straight into it. And I forgot to get red, but I'll get some red when I'm ready to paint the ladybug. Now, on the picture you see in front of you, the background's a dark purple. This time I'm going to try with a light purple. And when you mix colours, here's a hint. Always mix with the light colour first, then add the dark colour into it. Now I'm using acrylics, and I'm painting on paper. You can paint on canvas, it doesn't make any difference. It's just a matter of preference. I prefer canvas, but I've got a lot of paper to use up. So I've mixed up my background colour. Now I'm thinking I haven't mixed enough, so I'm going to go mix a little bit more, because you should always mix more paint than what you need, because if you don't have enough paint and you have to mix more, you never get that same shade of the colour you're after. So I'm going to paint the background first. Now I'm using a large flat brush for this, and I'm going to put some texture into the paint, but first I'm going to put down just a base coat. I'm going to add some water to that paint just to help it spread a little easier. Once again, there's going to be a black line between the colours, so it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but I've got to keep in mind that the sunflowers are going to be yellow, and yellow doesn't really cover other colours too well, so I don't want to get too much into that area of the petals. So I've got the purple on, but now I'm just going to get some white and just cross hatch it into the purple. I wouldn't even call purple now, I'd call it probably a mauve. But I'm not going to over blend it. I'm just going to leave some of that texture in the paint. Just give it that rough look of a blurred background. Go to the other side. Now I'm doing everything I can with that needs a big brush at the moment, then I'll go to a smaller flat brush. And as you can see, I'm not being fastidious, I'm not overly focusing too much on anything. It's just the background that no one's actually going to really see. They're not going to be looking at your background. Get that white into it. There's a mistake I see a lot of people make when they start painting, is they don't do the detailing right up to the edges. They're a bit timid, and you'll see like a halo sort of effect around everything they've painted because they haven't painted all the way in. So I'll go on to that smaller or medium size flat brush. What size is it? Size 7. Now, brush selection, believe it or not, is quite important. You don't use a little brush to paint a big area or vice versa. Now you can paint this the other way. You can paint the background last. In this picture it doesn't really matter. The whole background's going to be black outlined. Using my big brush to fill the areas. Now I don't do it all with the purple first. I've got to add the white as I go because being acrylics, it dries relatively quick at times when it's thin. And being on paper, the paper absorbs a lot of the water out immediately out of the paint and makes it hard to work. So you got to work it pretty quick on a bit of paper. Alright, the other side. Now these are designs that I've drawn up and I've turned them into stencils or traces. If you want to get the tracer for this, go to www.readart.com.au and you can download the tracer. You get the image, that you can download the quality of the image, and you can also get a copy of this video so you can watch as you go. Because I know you all want to watch me. But it's not only this image, you can also get lots of other pictures there that you can get the tracer for and paint. Now you can paint with your friends, you can paint at home. It's up to you. I don't care how you use it. So you imagine if I didn't download enough, or didn't mix enough paint, getting this purple again would be quite difficult. Don't be timid with your paint when you use it. Like acrylic paints, generally they're not overly expensive. Don't think you've got to conserve your paints too much. It takes the enjoyment out of painting. Right. And I know Deb's about to start, Deb's my wife, she's about to start a membership group for kids art activities because we're both artists. And it's at creatable.com.au, I think it is. Createable. Just have a look. no obligation. Now I'm just doing those bits. With a smaller brush that I couldn't get to with a bigger brush. And I'm using probably a size, I'm going to guess 4. Nope, size 6 in this one. Size 6 round brush. Hopefully I'm getting it all. Oh, I missed this spot here. Oh, that's that done, the background. Okay, so now I've added yellow and red. Now I'm just going to paint in the yellow. And while I'm doing this, I'm thinking about the black line that's going to separate the purple and the yellow. Make sure that I've got no white gaps. You see, I don't know if you can see that, but the purple's coming straight through that yellow where I've made mistakes. So I'll just come back and touch that up when it dries out a bit. Now at this stage I'm just doing the outlines around the tips of the petals. Now with these light colours, after painting quite a bit, you get to I missed a couple of purple spots there, I've just noticed. After painting for a while, you notice that certain colours work a certain way, particularly light colours. There's another spot I missed. In light colours, I don't push as hard on my brush, which I want, because I want to leave a thicker layer of paint. On the surface, like being more see-through, the lighter colours are more translucent. You try and keep the paint nice and thick. A lot like my head when I'm trying to think while I'm painting. Trying to talk at the same time, just doesn't work. So keep it thick. And thick paint's always good. Seeing texture in paint is always a great effect. It's like you're sharing a part of you. People see the strokes that the artist has put in their artwork. It gives it more meaning. I have to agree, it's a little bit harder with acrylics unless you add a compound to thicken it up. Because what happens with acrylics, as the paint dries up, all that water that's in the paint, because it's water-based, all that water evaporates, and that paint will sink down, flatten down. Oils don't do that. If you're using oil paint, oils will keep that thick consistency. It takes a lot longer to dry, but it's very good for seeing the strokes in the paint. Now in those petals, I'm going to go for an orangey so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some yellow, just a pinch of red. Red's really strong. You never add too much red to colours. Just a pinch more. So now I've got this orangey effect. I'm going to go to the smaller, go into my size 2 brush, add a bit of water to it. I'm just looking for effect that I want, just to give some texture into those leaves. And put some yellow over the top, just to break it up. There's the petals, I said leaves. One thing I've learned with painting, I'll talk about my perspective of painting. If you're not enjoying it, you're doing it wrong. And if you're doing it wrong, it means you've got to change it. Do it a way that's enjoyable. If it means you got to go opposite to logic, but you're having fun doing it, do it. painting is not about the person that's viewing the picture. Well, it can be a lot if I'm doing a fine artwork. It is for the customer, but I still have to have my satisfaction in creating the artwork. Otherwise, what's the point? It's got to be fun. Otherwise, you're not going to come up with something that you are happy with unless you have fun doing it. I'd say the second thing I would say is if it looks like a photo, what's the point? Like, I can paint like photos, I can paint fine detail, realism, but if it's, you've got to have some element of creativity in there to make it exciting, to make it not like a photo. If I wanted a photo, I'd take a photo. Failure. Every picture that I paint has mistakes in it. I will never master that. So you always got to say to yourself, it's going to have mistakes. That's part of creativity. That's why a lot of people don't do art. They don't like doing art because that fear of failure, that fear of exposing themselves with errors. People don't like to put themselves out there to be seen to make mistakes, and every painting has mistakes. Now, if I painted 10 mistakes in my pictures, I'll see 10 mistakes. Every time I look at the picture, I'll see 10 mistakes. But everyone else might see one. You're more critical of yourself than other people are critical, and other people aren't looking for those mistakes. So be happy about mistakes. Mistakes make it original. Mistakes make it yours. I'm going to fix up those. There's a couple of bits of the purple that I missed. Yeah, so don't worry about making mistakes. And whenever, in the paint parties that I do, I tell people, if you're painting, when you're finished painting, if your painting looks like my painting, what's the point? What's the point of copying it bit by bit? Be creative, come up with your own version. It's great getting to the end of a paint party. Now, before I go on with this, I'm looking for I'm going to add a bit of green to this. I'm looking for a browny sort of colour based on the colours that I have here. So I've mixed yellow, a red, green and white. Generally, if you mix three of the opposing colours, like yellow, red and blue, you'll get a browny colour. Then you just tinge it up and down with black or more blues, or I've just used white to give me that. It's a baby poo colour. So I'm going to paint that circle with my baby poo. Yeah, I love getting to the end of a paint party, getting everyone lined up, and you take a photo of everyone's artwork, and it's amazing seeing the different versions of paintings that people come up with. And sometimes I look at these paintings and I go, wow, I couldn't do that. People paint things different ways and do things different ways. And you see a lot of paintings where you go, like, and, you know, and I'm not talking about expert painters or anything here, but you see paintings that you think, oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't paint like that. I never would, and it wouldn't cross my mind. Everyone's different. So now I've got the baby poo, now I'm going to put some dots. Actually, I'm going to use the back of my brush. I've got to mix some more paint up for this. Bit of green. Kind of purpley colour. I'm focusing around the outside of the, I don't know what you call that part. No idea. I'm slowly working it into the centre, getting lighter and lighter. You can use anything to create art. You don't have to use a brush. Whatever works. Try different things. Try a fork, a knife, toothbrush. I'm using the back of a brush here. Your finger. One of the best tools I've got, my finger. I'm just going to work that darker colour into the centre. So I'm starting to get that curved effect. Now I'm going to use a lighter colour. I'm starting the centre. I'm going to start at the centre and I'm going to work my way out. I'll do a bit of yellow in there. That bit of yellow will tie it to the petals a bit better. Just have that link of yellow and yellow, not too much. some white. Oh, that'll do for that. So now I'm going to do the leaves. Actually, let's do this one over here. The bulb that hasn't popped yet. Now, I'm going to paint these green, and I'm hoping I can still see my lines through it. Let's thin that out a bit. And I'll paint it over my lines. And if you make that mistake, so what I did, I thought I used lead pencil. I don't usually use lead pencil. For some reason I thought I used lead. I use watercolour pencils, and this has made those lines disappear. I've got two options. I can make up my own lines as I go, which is what I'm going to do, or I wait till it dries and I put my stencil back on and redraw the lines on. Or just freehand it with a pencil after the paint's dried. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to wait. I'm going to let that dry out a bit, and I'll get the pencil and I'll draw some lines on. Let's go for a bigger brush. So on this leaf, I'm just putting that base coat in first of a light green. Generally, most light greens you can see through them. They're quite translucent. Some colours just don't work perfectly. Pink's another one I've found, especially in watercolours. You ever tried using pinks in watercolours? I've never found one that actually comes out pink. If it does, it's very weak. So what I'm doing here, I'm just putting that base coat in, and then I'll go through with a second coat of adding in details of a darker green, maybe some whites or yellows. All depends on how much detail I want in the picture. And I'm also, like I said, I'm thinking about the black line that's going to separate between the two colours. Make sure I haven't left any whites that won't get covered with a black line. Flattening those, smoothing that paint out so I don't have all those strokes in it. Don't want to paint my ladybug. Oops, smaller leaves, go to a smaller brush. Now, believe it or not, my studio here at the moment is a travelling studio. Deb and I, we're doing a lot of travelling. We're about to go to Thailand and Bali for 5 or 6 months or something. At the moment, I'm staying at the mother-in-law's. And I'm in her garage. I've got my setup in the garage. Small setup so I can do videotaping, do some art. You don't need all the wonderful things to create art. Like I'm sitting in a garage with lights and cameras and all my paints on a fold-away table. But saying that, I do have a studio, but I'm not there at the moment. So now, I'm going to get a pencil. I'm going to draw in roughly those lines of this. There's a start. No, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with that bit. I'm still going to wait. What I'm actually going to do, I'm going to put the black lines in. Lightly. And then come do the dark green sections. Same as using a pencil. Okay, now I've got a better idea. I'll start on this side, work my way back to that. So I'm not putting a lot of detail in these leaves. Just putting a bit of dark green into some spots. Using the yellow to blend it in, light green to blend it in. Just to give that feel of that there's movement in those leaves. There's a bit of shape in them. Once again, there's going to be some black lines that run down there. Just to break up that flatness of the light green. I'm going to put some yellow, or you could use white just to lighten up some areas. I'll try a bit of white. Yeah, white's probably a little bit better. There we go, using my finger just to blend it lightly. So the stems, I'll do the left side dark and the bottom side dark. And notice I'm not getting fussy with this because the black lines will take a lot of this out. The most powerful thing in this picture will be the black lines. Some dark green shading up under that the petals. I think one of the biggest secrets to painting brush control is pressure. The amount of pressure you're putting on the tip of your brush. Learn to control that. Start with the light pressure and work your way down. You'll get used to it. I think the other thing is contamination is the biggest issue. Always, and I haven't used it a lot this side. This side I've got a rag. I'll wipe my brush constantly on the rag, get the paint off, wash it in the water, and actually change that water now. Yeah, always just getting that paint out of your brush, starting with a fresh brush. I'm just going to use some water to spread it, like watercolours. Now we're up to this one. So do the bottom section of these dark green. The tops light green and some white tips, and I'll put the white tips in after. I'm just using the greens first. I'll put the whites in these ones now because they'll be my test case. Just give it a white tip and I'll blend that down. Take the white off my brush, get some light green. Just get that blending happening a bit more. There we go. That's the effect I'm after, the contrasting effect between the white and light green to the dark green. Dark at the bottom of the petals, light at the top. The whites. Blend those whites in. Now my edges aren't perfect, but remember there's going to be black lines again. I'll do these bottom ones. Right, so I just missed that one there. It's a bit of dark at the bottom here. Now at the top edge of this leaf and this one, or this one's going to have a darker background, this one's going to have a lighter. So it's going to look like he's popping over the top. So there's his lighter edge. Blend it with some light green. I'll put a pinch of back dark green at the bottom edge. Get some water on it to help it spread. Darken the shadowed area of this one. Going up through that light green. This one's going to have a wider edge as well, a wider top edge to make it pop out from those darks that are behind it. There you can see that pop. Well, blend it down to the green. Just making this one flip over. And notice I'm not putting a lot of detail in these. Just using the tip lightly in my brush to blend it. Okay, I'm going to say I'm happy with that for the video. I'm not saying it for the video, I'm just saying keeping the time constraints short as I can. Now Ladybug. It's like a little cartoony ladybug. It's got a white at the top. Well, it is actually red all over, but the white at the top is just a reflection of light. There we go, there's its body. Now we're going to do the black outlining. This is where it matters. I'm going to use this one's a size 2, depends on the lines you want to do. Sometimes, or a lot of times I use a smaller one than this. I'm using the black paint and I'm going to add water to the black paint, and you've got to get it to consistency so when you paint it, the paint flows evenly and follows your brush like a pencil without getting white gaps because the paint's not adhering too well. The water will make it flow a lot better, but you don't want to be able to see through it. So I'm going to start up the top and work my way down. Now the black lines, you can make them thick black lines, thin black lines. My recommendation is at the side on a bit of paper, practice your black lines, get them to the consistency you want. I'm going to go for a slightly thinner black line than I did on the original. Sometimes if you do black lines, you can overdo black lines. I'm not really worried about it. This picture, I am overdoing the black lines. See, I can just keep going with those lines with the water in it. Now it's a matter of using the tip of your brush, keeping that pressure off. As soon as you start putting that brush down, you're going to get a thicker line. It's good if you want it, but black's a colour you can't rub off. And notice I don't do it slow, I do it real quick. If the lines don't cover where they're supposed to be, it doesn't matter. It's an error that looks good. I'm not taking my time with this. It's that skill of getting those brisk straight lines. As soon as you slow down, you lose your momentum, you start to shake and the lines aren't straight. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. As soon as you get big blobs of paint on your brush, that's what you're going to get on your canvas. There you start to see those black lines, how it makes that flower pop out of from the background. It's hard not to put your hand down in the paint. You might find an easel easier to paint with. The only reason I'm doing it on the table is it's easier to videotape. Normally I would do this on the easel. I'm just going to do a couple of flicks here and there. Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, I'm happy. I'm going to start this side and work my way back across this way so I'm not putting my hand in black paint. See how big, long, straight lines. Got a blob. It's coming up well. I'm happy with what I've achieved here. Because if you don't want to use the black lines, by all means do it, but make some of the edges of the shadowed edges, the shadowed areas dark, and the lighter edges a lot lighter, just to make it pop a bit more. I'm putting any detailing in these leaves because they're too small. I'll have too much black. Got to be carried away with that black line. Thinned it out a little bit. Right, the ladybug's going to have smaller black lines. Couple of black dots. I'm going to use the back of my brush for the black dots. Antenna. I'm just going to put a white dot on top of his head, just like a bit of a light. Yeah. One thing I'm going to do, I'm not happy with this bit, I'm just going to do a bit of touch-ups on this, just to make it pop a little bit more. Just going to put a bit of yellow at the tips of these. Yeah, that gives it a bit more oomph. Alright, sunflower and ladybug finished. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, www.readout.com.au, all our stencils are there. I hope you can join us, do some paintings, post them back to us so we can put them online for everyone to see. That's if you want to, but I've always loved to see other people's artworks. I'll see you next time.
If you found this video entertaining, helpful or inspiring, we'd love for you to consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell. Subscribing will ensure that you never miss out on any of our future content that we create, especially for you.